Good evening, everyone, and welcome. So my name is Joanna. I'm a librarian at London's Central Library. One book I'd like to mention tonight is related to our topic, and it's called Community Scale Composting Systems. It focuses on how to close the food system loop as it relates to citywide composting plans. This book and others related to tonight's topic will be sent in a follow-up message where you'll be able to follow the links for downloads or to place a hold for pickup at your library branch. And I just wanted to offer that and other topics that might be of interest for further reading. So before starting our program tonight, we would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we in London, Ontario, are speaking to you from the traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Lenape, and Neutral peoples. This land is covered by several treaties, including Treaty 6, the London Township Treaty of 1796. We acknowledge historical and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank the generations of peoples who have taken care of this land. Together and going forward, may we all recognize our own responsibility in the stewardship of this land. If you would like more information about Treaty 6, the library holds materials on this and other treaties. Thank you, and I will now hand it back to Leah.
Thank you, Joanna. If this is your first Green in the City event with us, welcome. Green in the City is a seminar series that explores local issues through a sustainability lens. It's co-organized by the London Environmental Network, the City of London, and the London Public Library. I'm Leah. I'm the Operations Manager at London Environmental Network, and I will be facilitating the session for this evening. So this evening, as you all know, we will be talking about London's upcoming green bin program. After the introductions, we will hear from Jay Stanford and Anne Boyd from the City of London. And then we will pause for some polling questions through Zoom. And next we will hear from India Paul and Dong Deng from City of Hamilton, as well as Deanna Dakin from the region of Waterloo. And they will be sharing their experiences about implementing a green bin program in their municipalities. And then we will end the evening with a 25-minute Q&A period where you will have the opportunity to ask your questions and get them answered from our speakers. So our first speaker for the evening is Jay Stanford, who joined the City of London in 1995 and has held a number of senior management positions. In 2012, he became the Director of Environment, Fleet and Solid Waste at the City of London in the Environmental and Engineering Services area. He is currently on the Board of Directors at the Ontario Waste Management Association and is involved in waste management policy development for the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Regional Public Works Commissioners of Ontario. As I mentioned, Jay will be joined by Anne, who is the Manager of Waste Diversion Programs at the City of London. Anne has helped design and implement food waste reduction studies and pilot projects in collaboration with community partners. Anne is a member of the Ontario Food Collaborative and a former member of the Municipal Waste Association, the Food Waste Reduction Working Group. Next, we have India Paul, who has been with the City of Hamilton since 2013 and has held various positions within waste management. She has worked as a waste collector, an operations officer for the waste department, an operator for alleyway collections with downtown cleanliness, and she has been in her current role of outreach coordinator for 3 years. India will be joined by Dong Deng, who has been with the City of Hamilton's Waste Management Division since 2013 and has worked in several areas within the division, including regulatory compliance, material recycling facility, and central composting facility. And currently Dong holds a position of project manager for the city's central composting facility. And last but not least, we have Deanna Dakin, who has worked in both private consulting services and the public sector for over 30 years, with more than 25 years of experience in waste management. And she's very active in her community and volunteers with the Wilmette Summer Market, Canada Day celebrations, and the Township of Wilmette Trails Committee. And Deanna is currently a member of the projects and communications team in the Waste Management Division at the Region of Waterloo. So we have some really awesome speakers for tonight. Just before we begin, I want to remind you all that throughout the session, you'll have the opportunity to type your questions in the Q&A box. And if you're directing it to a speaker, please specify that in your question. And as I said, we will have time for all questions at the end. Any questions that don't get answered tonight will be sent out via email to everyone as well. And also please be respectful throughout this event, especially when using the question box to keep this a fun, welcoming, and inclusive environment for everyone. And without further ado, I will now pass it off to Jay and Anne.
Well, I sure hope that worked, and I've got my first slide on the screen. Welcome, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us here tonight. A big thanks, of course, to our community partners, the library and London Environmental Network. And of course, this is our first in the Green in the City series for 2021. We'd also like to thank in advance here our colleagues from Hamilton and Waterloo for joining us, because we're on a journey here in London, and this is the next step for the Green program. So let me... I'm frozen here. There we go. Sorry about that. Tonight, I'm going to cover off the next 15 minutes sections. A little bit about the background, and then, of course, the 5 key questions that are on the website right now. Then I'll pass it over to my colleague, Anne, who will walk you through the website, which has the 5 key questions we want answered. There's a bit of background here. We talk about what goes on here in London with respect to waste diversion, and we're at 45% waste diversion. And we've been building on that for a number of years, but we have hit a plateau. And the reason we're stuck at 45 is we don't have a green bin program. When we compare ourselves with other municipalities, they're upwards between 50 and 60% diversion from landfill site. So here we go. Our journey is all about increasing the waste diversion. But if we look across the city at all the other sources of garbage that are produced, and we add them into the equation, and we talk about what goes on at commercial facilities, what goes on at construction sites, we realize there's a fair bit of material produced in London. And we're actually quite pleased, though, when we look at all the diversion programs in part in London, and of course the citizens that help drive those businesses. Over more than a third of the materials are not ending up in landfill. And it means there's a lot of room for growth, but when it comes to Ontario averages, London is doing extremely well. And when the green bin is finally implemented, it'll be that much further along. When we look at some of our key programs, really, you ask yourselves, where do you get your information? Well, as funny as it sounds, the answer is in the garbage bag. And when we look at what's in our garbage bag, that's when we start to find some, let's call them some shocking statistics. About a third of it is food waste. And of that food waste, 2/3 of it is what we classify as avoidable. And I'll come back to that in a second. Then there's other organic materials such as soiled paper, pet waste, a few other organics, upwards of 60% by weight. That avoidable food waste, though, we have to take a hard look at that. And we'll spend a couple minutes on that right now. These are the items that may have been spoiled in your fridge. They may have been on the plate and not eaten. There's always an excuse. It happens, and sometimes it shouldn't happen. If not, most often that's the case. And you see the value of what is lost. And these are our friends in the county of Peterborough. And they actually went out and sort of put a price tag on a sample of the material they found in the garbage bag. And you have that on your screen. It becomes shocking because here in London, we did pretty much the same thing. And when we added up the impact, these are numbers that I hope will mean something to you tonight. So anywhere between $450 and $600 per household is lost here in the way of food waste. And that's the avoidable portion. $80 to $100 million is lost. And you say to yourself, look, we're never going to be perfect, but if we even just reduce 10% of that amount, Look at the money that would be saved. And in fact, that money would be the amount that could be used to pay for the green bin program and several other programs. But let's jump into the green bin program, why you're here with us tonight. But never forget about that food waste, I'll tell you though. I'm going to come back to that again and again over the next many months. But back to the green bin. Look, it's about the clean stuff, your food scraps, soiled paper. But then you've got some choices and the organics that we call the dirty organics, pet waste, personal hygiene products, and some other odds and ends. These are all items that, well, they can be in your green bin. Pet waste, for example. Well, look at it. About 50% of London homes have pets. And when we talk about how much you could collect, well, potentially a little over 55% could be collected based on experience in other municipalities. And when we talk pet waste, we're talking about, let's call it dog poop and kitty litter. Same thing with hygiene products here. Other items that could be collected. About 2 or 3 municipalities in Ontario have that in their green bin system. So these are part of the choices that we have to make decisions on over the next month or so here in London. On the survey, we also asked about the size of the green bin. And we've learned a lot from our other municipalities in Ontario. And we've really narrowed it down to 2 choices. And we actually have been out to London a couple times and heard from Londoners, and they're in agreement that the choices on the screen there, the small at 46 liters and the medium at 80 liters, are the 2 containers that make the most sense for London. There's some similarities about the containers. Both have wheels. One's a little larger than the other, obviously, but the cost point, keep that in mind. One is almost double the price. And in fact, the 46 liter small, whether that's small, I guess that's a term that'll be debatable. That contains a lot of room. And in fact, that is the most common green bin used in other municipalities. One of the next choices, the kitchen catcher, that little helpful container that sits on the kitchen counter, below the sink, maybe in the cupboard. Its purpose, basically, because, well, most of your food scraps are generated in the kitchen. Some people will line it. We'll get to that in a second. But the container itself is somewhere between a 7 and 9 liter size, and there's a couple choices that come there. Very common in municipalities. And in fact, typically when you're delivering a green bin, when you open it up, you'll find one of these inside. Liners. It's interesting because this varies across the province. And liners are typically the choice of the resident on what they use. Municipalities will provide information on what can be purchased and how you can actually create your own liner. And in the case of the choices that we have on our survey form, things like newspaper, shredded paper can be placed in the kitchen catcher or into the green bin directly to help absorb some of the liquids that are just part of the green bin material. But some people go as far as purchasing compostable, certified compostable plastic bags or the paper bag and use that to line either the kitchen catcher or the green bin. Now, what you have to do though here is really understand that the plastic bag, although convenient for some, it is an item that actually causes many challenges in the composting system because it has to be removed. So most communities do not permit the traditional plastic bag. In that case, that would be the grocery bag, for example. This is another interesting one. We have designed our program based on moving to bi-weekly garbage collection. So garbage would be picked up every 2 weeks. And that was on the basis of understanding what other municipalities either started with in Ontario or what they moved to. And we'll probably hear a little bit more about that tonight from Hamilton and Waterloo. But for London, what you see on the screen is what your calendar would look like. Garbage would be picked up every 2 weeks. The blue box would be picked up, and the green bin would be every week. And in fact, what you're seeing there is the return to the same day each week, which I know that many Londoners will be quite happy. Some just don't enjoy that moving day that we've had since 1996. Now, here's the challenge. Green bin handles your yucky, smelly materials. So that is weekly, but there will be still many people who wonder, can I hold my garbage for 2 weeks? And if diapers, sanitary products, pet waste are not included in the green bin, is that going to be a problem? Other communities have tackled that, so there are solutions, but this is where we do need to hear from Londoners, and that is why it is question number 5 on the site, which Anne will show you in a minute. Too much garbage? It's possible. We'll have to look at the container limit that's in place here in London right now. And hey, don't be surprised if it actually changes and lowers, because if you're pulling out your organics and doing that on a weekly basis, you quite likely have that much less garbage. Let's face it. We're fairly generous with what we have right here compared to others, but of course we don't have the green bin program just yet. A couple of the reasons for the movement to bi-weekly garbage collection right at the start here in London is that we followed a number of communities on their path for the green bin program and how they basically improved the service. And what you see on the screen is Barrie, Peel, and Waterloo in the dark green column was their diversion rate when they had weekly garbage pickup. So essentially your green bin and garbage and blue box were all on the same day, but there really wasn't that incentive to move the organics from the garbage bag into the green bin. And behold, when Peel and Waterloo of how much return on the green bin. So what do they see? Same thing that we will likely see here in London and how we plan for it. You've got lower operating and capital costs associated with the bi-weekly garbage pickup, twice the diversion, twice the greenhouse gas reduction. Yes, it will be less convenient for some Londoners. Primarily the Londoners who are not participating in the green bin program or do have all that extra garbage. So we're gonna have to work on some potential solutions, and that'll be part of our upcoming work and presentation back to committee and council here in London. So to wrap up, just a few more slides. Yard waste. We've had that picked up here in London on the Green Week program since 1996. It is a different system, and yard waste and your leaves is handled quite differently. It is brought off to an outdoor windrow composting facility. It's our contractor, a company that many people know, Try Recycling. At that facility, they shred the brush right away and move it into large outdoor windrows where the composting process takes many months to occur. This happens to be a low-cost composting solution rather than what is clearly a higher cost solution when it comes to the green bin materials. So this is something why yard waste is typically not included in the green bin program on the same collection day. Multi-residential sector, we've already heard some people saying, hey, what about us? Well, you're not ignored. We're just looking at a different kind of system to serve the multi-residential sector as part of a pilot project. And it's one that we won't be able to get into great discussion on tonight, but it deals with mixed waste processing. And we're looking at working with other municipalities to move in that direction in the short term for the multi-residential sector, for a percentage of them. And then as part of a longer term direction for the City of London, it is something that we're putting a lot of time and interest into that. So it's almost like it would be a transition from the green bin program for many years to potentially mixed waste processing once it's proven out here in Canada and in North America. So it is a system of the future, but when it comes to apartment and multi-residential right now, green bin programs have not proven to be very successful. So it's something though, if things do change, we'll be able to move. But right now, we're looking at the pilot project for mixed waste processing as being the potential short-term solution. A couple of the just quick items, the green bin collection system. This is something we're also working on, trying to determine what will be the right type of truck that will be moved into the City of London for collection. It typically is a truck that has got a split compartment and has a certain level of automation, basically automation associated with cart tippers. If we have the larger carts, if we're working with the smaller carts, you can see there that you do still have a certain level of automation, but there's more of what's referred to as hand bombing into the vehicles. Composting or anaerobic digestion will be key for us as well. We'll be going to the marketplace to determine how your materials from the green bin program will be handled. That'll be part of a request for proposal process that will be starting up in the, probably in the next 3 or 4 months. And finally, I just want to take this opportunity to remind folks that the green bin, all part of course, the waste management program being delivered here in London to divert more materials from the landfill site, but is also a very important program as part of the development of London's Climate Emergency Action Plan, which is also an engagement process is underway. And on the screen, you see a couple of ways to get involved on that particular project. And speaking of get involved, I'm going to pass the screen over to Ann Boyd now, my colleague, who will walk you through quickly our website that is available to you right now. So I will stop sharing, and Ann, I'm hoping you're online, and over to you if all is going to go well on your end. Thanks very much, folks.
Thank you, Jay. Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping that you can now see the Get Involved site on your screens here. And I'm just going to take the next couple of minutes to walk through.
Not seeing it yet, Anne.
You're not seeing it yet? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
How about now?
Yes, now I see
Very
it.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Leah. Okay, so here we are on the landing page of getinvolved.london.ca. This is not the city's website, but if you do go to the city's website and search for green bin, the first link will take you to this site. Get Involved is the city's online engagement site where you can learn about new projects and share your feedback on them. If you haven't already visited this site, I really recommend that you take a look at some of the other projects on here. And I guarantee there'll be something of interest to you and perhaps something that's actually happening in your neighborhood. One I think that would be of interest to the audience here tonight is the Climate Emergency Action Plan. So if you just scroll down a little bit on this page, you'll get to that, and it's currently open for free feedback. So be sure to take a look at that. Okay, so let's just jump into the green bin site here, and it's right at the top because it was just released last week. So I'm going to click on that to take us to the site. I hope you're all following along. And really, when we land here, there's two options. Either you can get in here right away and into the feedback form if you already know what you think. Or if you're not quite sure and you would like some more information, there's a lot of background information. Jay went through a lot of that, and you can read about it here. So it covers the 5 key decision areas. I'll just click on the one here, which is which materials would you like to see in London's green bin program. We've categorized them as clean versus dirty organics. There's quite a lot of information here on the pros and cons of the different materials. We talk about what's happening in other municipalities. We've included a couple of videos here, one from Toronto, one from Hamilton. And here's a list of what's being collected in other Ontario municipalities. And we've included a couple from other municipalities as well in Canada. So that's the background information. We have that on all the different areas. I'm just going to go into the feedback form now. So the first one, the first area that we're looking for your feedback in is what type of materials would you like to see? Again, clean versus dirty. And here we are into the question. And in this case, you just click on what you want to see in the green bin in London that will work for your household. So I'm going to go with these, what we call the clean materials, a little bit of yard waste to top up the green bin, and I'll save and continue that. And then we go on to question number 2, which is what size bin would you like for your household? The 2 sizes, the small, though you can see it's not really that small, it stands higher than the blue box, or the medium sized bin. As Jay said, we've already done a fair bit of research on that. We figure those are the two best options for consideration here. And in my case, I'm quite familiar with the amount of organic waste that I produce because I'm a longtime home composter. And even though I got a household of 4 adults, my green bin materials are dense. They're heavy, but they don't take up a lot of room. So I know that the small is going to be quite adequate in my household. I'll save and continue. I won't go through the other questions here. I just want you to see that they're there. I'm going to click through to the end, however, just to make sure that you're aware. So whether or not you finish the complete survey, and I hope you do all, here we are on the last page. We're looking to collect some other information, something on demographics, who's completing this, what's your postal code, an opportunity to give further feedback. And we really hope that you leave your email address here. If you'd like to be kept informed as we progress through this program, and especially if there's future opportunities to provide some feedback on the program, make sure you leave your email address and don't forget to submit it. Again, this is getinvolved.london.ca. Thank you.
I'm going to now invite India to share her screen and begin her presentation.
All right, so first of all, thanks guys for having us tonight. It's nice to be here. So as mentioned before, I'm from the city of Hamilton, and I'm an outreach coordinator with the city of Hamilton. And I am here with Dong, and he is a project manager of our central composting facility. So that's where all of our organics go to be processed. So kind of how it began and kind of how it's going now, we've been doing this for quite a while now. So we began in 2001. So from 2001 to 2005, we had council approve our master plan that we wanted to include organics in our waste streams. During that time, we sent out RFPs and tenders for things such as trucks, collection, carts, and other materials such as education. And then also during that time, we started our construction of our composting facility. And then while we were doing all of these things, we did a few pilot programs. So in 2002, we introduced green bins to 2,600 properties. And then again in 2004, we introduced green bins to an additional 2,000 properties. And then during this time, we were testing curbside bins, kitchen containers, and other communication and educational materials. And then our full rollout happened between March to June of 2006. So we launched communication to make sure all the residents knew about what was happening, and we trained our staff so they would be able to answer any questions. And that's when we distributed our green bins citywide. Our current program right now, so you'll see that we do service single family homes. And then we also do have quite a few number of multi-residential apartments who participate. They all get weekly collection. It is a 50-pound weight limit. And then you'll see that we accept food scraps and soiled paper products. So soiled paper products would be things such as, you'll see in the photo there, a dirty paper plate or a pizza box or even a paper bag. You'll notice under that it says no yard waste, including grass clippings. We did have yard waste included for a number of years into the green bin program, but we took it out in 2019. And now it strictly goes to our landfill where it is composted outdoors. We do not accept any plastic, glass, or metal. And then at the city of Hamilton, we do not accept diapers and we do not accept pet waste into our compost bins. So this side here, so this is what we call a hot stamp. So this goes on every top of every green bin that the residents get. And it's just an easy reminder for them. So if they're taking something out to the green bin and they're going to open up the lid, it just gives them sort of a quick list of what needs to go in there and what shouldn't go in there. So you'll notice on the things for the items that don't belong, one that we really like to emphasize is the elastic, stickers, and twist ties. So for example, if someone has just eaten a banana, they'll put the peel into the green bin, but they'll forget to take off the plastic sticker. And then you'll also notice we don't accept plastic bags. So as Jay was saying, the grocery bags are not accepted. They are quite problematic for us. So some common questions and concerns that we get from residents are odors. So just a few things, and I believe they showed it. There's a video that I think Anne had posted. So for odors, it's easy enough just to rinse and clean often. We suggest lining it with newspaper or a paper bag, and then obviously the compostable liners are accepted as well. Another big question has to do with insects and pests. I mean, a lot of times there can be sort of a maggot issue, but again, if you're clean with it and it's being rinsed weekly, it really doesn't become an issue. And that goes hand in hand with storage. So you don't want to be keeping your green bin in the hot sun during the summertime. You want to have it kind of in a shaded, cooler area so it will kind of slow any pests, or it will just deter them away. So in Hamilton, we have the two sizes as well. We have the large and the knee-high size. And we have sort of two different sizes because we have two different areas that we service. So the large green bin is mostly for rural areas, and that's just because these areas are serviced by a side loader. And it's a cart tipper on that, but it's a one-person operation. So just as a health and safety point of view, it's easier for them to use the tipper versus leaning over the actual hopper. And then underneath, the urban areas are serviced with a rear loader. So that's a two-person operation, so it's easier for the person on the back just to hand bomb the smaller bins inside. So you'll notice at the bottom it says newest smaller bins come with a lock. They're very good. I know a lot of people are concerned with raccoons or other critters getting in, but they do a really good job. And actually our larger bins also have locks as well. Operationally, this is what we use typically to pick up most of our garbage and organics. So this is a rear loader. It's a 60-40 split. So 60% is the larger side. You'll see that's the garbage stream. 40% is the organic stream. And so you'll see there is a cart tipper on that, even though some may be hand bombing it in. These vehicles may still service large green bins, especially if it's coming from a restaurant. So continuous promotion and education. So we do a lot of paid and free advertising. We do Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Every year there's an annual recycling and waste calendar that gives you your days that you need to put your garbage out. And it also has a lot of tips and tricks for every month of the year. Presentations, events, we do tours. The OOP sticker is something that we do. So if a resident does something incorrectly, we sticker them with an orange sticker so they know, and then they can correct it moving forward. So it will be collected the week after. So we have OOP stickers for each stream: garbage, recycling, and green bin. And then we also use the Recycle Coach Waste app. And then our Hamilton.ca waste is very helpful because it has kind of a what goes where. So if you're ever unsure of what product goes in what stream, you just type it in and it will literally tell you which stream to put it into. So presentations is a big one for us because we really want to educate the children, because we find that they usually help their parents a lot of the time. So here, this is at our central composting facility. And what we do is we bus in grades 5s and 4-5 splits. So they come from different schools around the city. We have them for about an hour and a half, and we go through sort of from your curbside to the landfill or from your curbside to the central composting facility, and kind of the steps involved and what goes where. And then the interesting thing about this classroom here is that it's actually located at our CCF. So the kids are able to look onto our tipping floor. So once the trucks have collected the organics for the day, they'll reverse in, dump the organics, and then the kids can kind of see everything in action. So it makes it a little more exciting for them. And then I'm just going to pass this over to Don so he can tell you a little more about the facility itself. Thank you.
Thanks, India. So I can quickly go through some of the facts about our central composting facility. So our facility is located in Hamilton's industrial area, and the facility was constructed in 2005 and operational since 2006. The facility received and processed residential non-hazardous source separate organics, we call it SSO, from Cedar Hamilton's curbside green bin program. So the material that was mentioned in India's slides. So the facility is designed to process 60,000 tons a year, or up to 90,000 tons a year. In previous years, we also received materials from other municipalities, but right now, we are only processing 20,000 tons from the city of Hamilton. So only city's material is coming to this facility to be processed. So the material, when we receive, when they go through the composting process, it typically takes about 42 days from beginning to the end. And then at the end, when we screen the final product, we will send it to the lab, get tested. After we meet all the quality standards, we will market and sell to local farmers. And we only target the farmers, so we don't sell it to residential use. It's only to all the local farmers in Ontario. So we're gonna show a short video about our central composting facility.
Yeah, I'll just send that over to you guys so you can send that out afterwards.
Yeah, I think you can also watch all the videos about all our waste management facilities, including on the transfer stations, landfills, recycling facility, and composting facility on our website. So I think the link provided in the chat that you can see all the videos about City of Hamilton's waste management facilities.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. Sorry, yeah, we'll put the link to that video, and then like Dong said, you can find the other ones through that City of Hamilton link there. Thanks for your presentation, guys. I'm gonna invite Deanna now to share her screen and begin her presentation.
Okay, I think my presentation is live. Can everyone see that?
Yep, all good.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm excited to be here tonight. And as Anne from the City of London said, I'm very thankful I wasn't driving to the City of London tonight. The winter weather here is a little bit crazy. My name is Deanna Dakin, and I'm a waste management coordinator with the region of Waterloo. I've been with the region for a long time and have been in waste management for the entire implementation of our green bin program. So tonight, I'll just go over the service levels that we provide, our green bin program, a little bit of a history, how we implemented, and some of the choices that we made, as well as going over some of the challenges that we had and how we got over those challenges and the recent successes that we've had. So the region of Waterloo is an upper tier municipality. We're made up of the cities of Waterloo, Cambridge, and Kitchener, and 4 townships, Wilmot, Wellesley, Woolwich, and North Dumfries. Population of about 650,000. We provide collection to 160,000 households. We serve single family, duplexes, and apartments up to 6 units. We do not provide collection to multi-residential buildings other than a cart recycling program. We have weekly green bin and blue box collection, unlimited. In the green bin, we collect clean organics, and we do collect pet waste. but we do not collect diapers or sanitary products. We have every other week garbage with a limit of 4, and every other week bulky and appliance collection with a limit of 3. Every season, we provide yard waste collection from late March till the end of November, early December, and there is no limit to the amount of material you can put at the curb. So our green bin program was staggered. We started in 2016 with a pilot program of 5,000 homes. And the response we got from the initial residents that joined our program was phenomenal. The following year, in 2007, we implemented another 5,000 homes, and we're very encouraged with the participation rates of all the homeowners. We decided to spread out the implementation of the green bin program over a number of years to help reduce the upfront costs of rolling out a very expensive program and make it more manageable for staff instead of increasing our employees considerably for a short period of time. So the green bin program was rolled out between 2006 and 2010 to all single family homes, with the exceptions of homes in the rural areas. And then between 2011 and 2016, we found that our diversion rate was stalling at just 52%. We spent considerable effort trying to get residents on board for using the green bin. We had an extensive education program. We hired co-op students who did a number of events throughout the year. We did advertising campaigns, workshops, and in every few years we would do a residential audit, and we still found a significant amount of the waste was food organics. So we had a couple of challenges that I wanted to share with you and how we overcame those challenges. So the green bin size and the kitchen catcher size and type. We did try various options and different choices, and we just came to realize that not every container will work for everyone. One size fits all there's no solution for that. The kitchen catchers is unique to each home. Some people like the kitchen catcher on their counter, some like to put it underneath. I don't even use a kitchen catcher anymore. I have a paper bag. I just sit in the corner and I walk it out to my garage whenever it's full. The green bin, we tried 2 different sizes, and we ended up going with the size that the City of London has indicated as their small size. We found that the larger size really increased the weight for those users that love their green bin, and organics waste can be very heavy, and for the safety of our collectors, we kept with the smaller size that was more closer to the 50-pound weight limit. So I would suggest to promote all the various options that you have for kitchen containers. This is part of our social marketing campaign we have here, and you have to really find what works for your own home on how to capture the organics from your kitchen and inside your house. The other challenge we had was the bag cost and availability. When we first launched the program, a lot of retailers were not quite on board with supplying the paper bags, and they were, hard to find sometimes. The one good option that all residents have now is grocery stores are providing paper bags when you go to the grocery store and do your shopping. And these bags are accepted in our green bin program, and we're happy about that. Originally, when we started our program in 2006, we did not accept certified compostable bags. And we heard loud and clear from our residents that they were really interested in this option. So we added it later on in the program. We also sold bags at cost for our residents so that they would be affordable as they were beginning to learn the composting program. So these, again, are options that we promote through our various social media channels. Kitchen catcher liner options, newspaper, the paper bags, and the green bin liner bag options. There are so many options. If you don't want to buy bags for your green bin, there's lots of other bags you can use, or newspapers. Liner bags are not required. However, they do make it a lot easier. In these frigid temperatures, we have a lot of frozen green bin material, especially if you keep your green bin outside. And there's just no way to empty a bin that's frozen solid. Lining your green bin reduces the chance that your green bin won't be emptied. The other challenge we had is that we changed our processor 3 times between 2006 and 2013. And the list of items that were acceptable also changed. And this created confusion for our residents. And we felt like we were always trying to educate our residents about what was accepted and what was not. So for example, coffee cups originally were allowed in the green bin, and then later on they were pulled. I mentioned the plastic compostable bags. They were not allowed in the beginning, and then they were allowed. The other item I wanted to share with you is that we do not accept diapers, which I mentioned. So we have 2 programs for our residents. So one, we have a medical exemption program that is extra free bag tags for our residents who have unavoidable waste due to a medical condition. So we will give them a supply of free bag tags to help them cope with the extra waste they may have. And then the next program, we have a free drop-off for diapers only at our transfer station. So residents can drop off all year long diapers and sanitary products in a clear plastic bag at our transfer station. So in the first year, when we made our service level changes, we had only 139 customers utilize this service. And the trend is that it's decreasing. As residents become more used to how to properly store their waste, they don't feel the need to come out to the transfer station to drop it off. And then the last challenge we had, based on residential audits, was that food waste was just still in our garbage bag. After so many years, 10 years of having a green bin program available, still around 60% of our waste was organics. And so we made the decision to switch to bag limits and every other week collection for garbage. So what happened after that? A lot of good things. So first of all, in the first week of our switch, we had 90 to 95% compliance of our residents by only putting out the correct things. So this was a street in the city of Cambridge. They did not have garbage collection or bulky item on their first week. And we saw streets and streets of only the green bin and blue box. We were very happy with the residents' participation. The other thing, we recognized that we had the opportunity to connect or reconnect with our residents. So the calls coming into our call center for a few months leading up to the changes in March 2017 were high, and we had the opportunity to educate them again about what goes in the blue box and the green bin. And they continued to be high for a few months afterwards. But by the end of 2017, we were receiving less calls than we did the previous year. Our residents really got a hang of it quickly. And then the other good news, after years of having no change in our green bin tonnage, you can see we went 8 tons a year, 9 for a lot of years, and 10. And then in 2017, for 10 months only, we increased our tonnage to 21,000 tons, and the trend continues to go up. Like the city of Hamilton, our green bin material is turned into compost and sold to farmers and landscapers. And the numbers that continue to tell us that our residents are very happy and supportive of our programs. So these numbers are reflective of the 2 years. So our green bin tonnage is up 150% now. Blue box is up 5%. So one of the benefits of switching to our biweekly collection is that residents began to question what they were putting in the blue box. And we found that there was a lot of wish cycling going on, where residents would say, oh, I really hope it gets recycled, and put it in. And then we had the opportunity to educate them about what really should go in and not to put in things just hoping they will get recycled. We had a decrease in our garbage of 31%, and our yard waste went up 26%. And that program did not change at all, and yet we had an increase in the material diverted. And finally, after years of sitting at 52%, the diversion rate for our municipality is now 65%, with 35% going to landfill. So we're very happy about the response from the community and how much they've jumped on board. And the last success we've had is that we only have one landfill in the region of Waterloo. And, you know, I started in the region in 1990. And when I did the education tours, I said, oh, we have between 25 and 30 years left of landfill capacity. And, you know, 33 years later, I'm saying we have 20 years left of landfill capacity. So we're very happy with the changes that we've seen in the last few years. And that's the end of my presentation.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. At this point, we're going to jump into our Q&A period. So I'm going to invite all of the speakers, if you're able to turn on your video, please do at this point. We got some really good questions come in throughout the talks, and so I'll be reading them and directing them to our speakers. And just a reminder for the audience, any questions that we aren't able to get to right now, we will send out the responses after the event. And also this event will be recorded, so you will get a link to the recording afterwards as well. So I'm just gonna go through our questions here. So the first one is, I know it's more expensive, but is there a significant difference in the environmental impact of processing the additional items like pet waste, diapers, etc.? And does that create more carbon output or use up more energy to process? So that's a loaded question there. Who wants to go first?
I'll tell you what, Leah, I'll jump in because it's an item that we're looking at right now. And we're really looking at it, not really from the diversion perspective, because let's face it here, the diaper does not really compost. It kind of comes out at the start of the process and heads off to landfill anyways. And the reason some communities collect it is that it's just that the green bin is a weekly system. So diapers and related products are very questionable, and they do cost more money to process. Environmental impact wise, I would suggest there that there's probably a greater environmental impact of handling a diaper that way versus just placed into the garbage at this point in time with today's technology. Pet waste is a whole different kettle of fish, because pet waste is full of, let's face it, it's full of nutrients and energy sources. So that is something there that would definitely have a better environmental footprint if it is managed not at the landfill site, but through typically an anaerobic digester would be an ideal location for something like that.
Does anyone else have any comments or want to jump in on that question?
So I'll jump in there because we do accept pet waste. And I have to say, I think Jay shared 50% of residents own pets in the City of London. Is that the stat? And we found similar opportunities too. And the residents who have owned pet, or who do own the pets, want to be responsible with their pet waste, and they love it. They are careful to make sure it's bagged and not exposed for the collector. And we get a very good diversion rate because of that.
I think I can also jump into that. So for the city of Hamilton, we're not receiving pet waste and diapers. It's just because our facility is not designed to handle that material. Our program is for source separated organics. So mainly focus on organic material. I guess namely just kitchen waste. So things that's not from the kitchen. We really don't want to include it into the process and into the program. And I guess it just costs us more money to remove it from the system and send it out to the landfill.
Awesome. Thanks for all your responses on that question. Second question we got is, are both the small and medium green bins raccoon proof?
We'd like to think they are. It's something we've checked into, but perhaps our colleagues in the other municipalities, I know that I saw a nice tight lock on one of the pictures.
So we do. We have, it's standard now that the raccoon lock comes on our green bins, and they are fine for deterring raccoons from getting in. We do have some issues actually with squirrels, and they will chew right through the lid of the green bin. So it's not about opening up the bin and getting into it. And we found actually if you put hot sauce on the green bin, the squirrels don't have an appetite for that and leave it alone.
Thanks for answering that one. We got another quick question. It was directed to Jay, but so we'll start with Jay. Do green bins have to be lined?
No, not at all. It really is a resident's choice. And you heard about some of the positive things in other communities, but it'll really be up to the individual on what they can handle in their own practice and convenience. And I think, to be honestly, it'll change during time of year. In the hot seasons, there might be an advantage to use a liner for a couple months. And then after, in the shoulder seasons, perhaps it's not necessary. And then I heard from either Hamilton or Waterloo that in the winter when it freezes, another opportunity there too. So not a requirement at this point in time, but as Anne was pointing out on the survey, it is something there that we're looking for feedback on that. I know Londoners don't have a lot of experience with that right now, but we're looking to hear what they have in mind.
And did you have anything to add?
I think Jay covered it all. I would say that it would be a household preference. Sometimes lining it is going to just be more practical.
Great. I'll mark that one as done. Our next question is, I believe this would be directed to City of London as well. Can you provide more information on your plans to pilot in multi-residential buildings? I think this is a gap in the plan. They'd just like to hear the options being explored. So we'll start with Jay and then maybe pass it off to other municipalities afterwards.
Thanks, Leah. As I mentioned, we're looking at mixed waste processing as a potential opportunity. And there's only one facility available right now operating in the Toronto area. And it's kind of hit and miss from an operational perspective right now. So we're hoping to actually work with a couple of the municipalities to determine how we can bring in a pilot project into Ontario to test mixed waste processing. And just so I can give you a bit of background, when we say mixed waste, the organics are still in the garbage bag. So technology opens up the bag, takes the organics out, separates them from the other materials for the purpose of trying to create a product of value. There's some positive stuff that's occurred around the world, and unfortunately, some problems with that technology. And that's why right now it's still hit and miss, but we're hoping that over a period of years, we'll be able to move in that direction with other municipalities Pilot project is something there that council has approved the City of London to move forward with, but we still have to find that processing facility. We don't have that lined up at this point in time.
And if I could just jump in there, because we do have a pilot program for a few multi-residential buildings for organics. Contamination is incredibly high in those buildings, and more often than not, the organics are not picked up because there is contamination in the bins. We've spent a lot of time trying to educate the residents, and you know, it just takes one person in the building to dump a load of garbage in there and it contaminates the whole bin. So we are doing a review right now about what type of services we would provide moving forward.
Anne, did you have something to add?
No, I think that was covered.
Okay, great. You were off mute, so awesome.
Oh, but I see the next one coming up and I can jump into that one.
Sure, yeah.
So the question is, are condo, townhomes, duplexes considered multi-residential?
Mm-hmm.
Generally, if they are receiving blue box collection versus blue cart collection, so putting their garbage and blue boxes out to the curb, they're not considered multi-residential. So even though they may be a grouping of residences in one location, those would be part of the first rollout of the green bin.
Thanks for jumping in on that question. I'm just going to skip to, we'll come back to the next one. So this question asks, have you investigated the green cone or digester method similar to what some of the other regions are implementing? Do you want to start with the City of London on that one?
And you're the whiz on this. How about you take that one? You're better than me, way better than.
Well, if we're talking about the individual household use of those, we've been selling those from our Enviro depots at a fairly highly subsidized cost. I think $35 is what we sell them from. Households have been using them. They're great because, particularly, we were talking about dog waste. We actually did a pilot of about 20 households last year where we got those households to sign up to use the green cone digester to place their dog waste into the units. And it was very successful, actually, and those households, even after the pilot, have continued to use them. And I know a lot of households will use them as well for food waste. So those are units that we've been selling and will continue to sell. And we find that as the use of them gets out into the community, we're selling more every year.
That's great. Next question. This is just an easy question to answer, so I'm going to jump to it. Do paper bags freeze to the bottom of the bins in the winter? Maybe Waterloo or Hamilton can address that.
Yep, so I'll jump in here. Unfortunately, yes, they do, especially if your organic waste is wet and that's what's freezing to the side. But we have a couple of tricks and tips that we share with our residents. If you put an egg carton in the bottom of your green bin and then the bag on top, it almost always works. That will stop it from freezing and allow the collectors to empty it.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else have anything to add for that one? No? Okay. This question is directed to Deanna and or Dong, asking if they could comment on whether they've noticed an increase in bioplastic contamination in their organics program, and if so, what solutions are being considered to tackle this issue?
So, okay, so I can jump in first. Is it about, I guess, compostable bags or just regular plastic bags? I guess for Hamilton, we don't see like a large quantity. We're just seeing like a small quantity received at our facility. And I guess at the end, it's after the material going through the process, it's really hard for us to tell whether it's compostable or regular plastic, or differentiate, which one is which. But at this time, I think the contamination is okay at the end. Our processor at the site, they're able to, I guess, screen out the plastic and sell our compost as the highest quality, the double A compost. Yeah, I guess from our contractor there, we're not seeing a huge problem right now.
And I would jump in there and say, we don't see a huge problem either. We require the collection crews to actually open up the lid. They hand bomb it into the back or the side of the truck, depending on which municipality is collecting. And if the bag is not accepted, they leave it behind with a sticker educating the resident.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that question. That was a good question. I'm going to scroll back to the top. I skipped over one. This question asks, what is the anticipated timeline for pilots and rollout of green bins in London? It's for Jay or Anne.
Well, a timeline would be late summer, early fall 2022. So about a year and a half from now. Now that is assuming that things with the pandemic, unfortunately, fortunately don't get worse. Now, so that's what we'll stick with for right now, because I'm keeping my fingers crossed that those vaccines are rolling our way sometime very soon, and things will get back to normal, and we'll have a great year of 2022. Keep in mind, we've got to get trucks, cars purchased, get contracts in place. So as much as people want to start using the green bin tomorrow, they have to wait a little bit longer. But I'll tell you, through enthusiasm like this, and all the people attending tonight, the people that have been online with our survey, well over 2,000 people, we know the appetite in London is very strong.
Wonderful, thanks. Next question is, if pet waste and diapers end up in the garbage in the end, could it not be packaged separately but be picked up with the green bin waste if the trucks are split between garbage and organics anyway? Maybe Hamilton or Waterloo could answer based on their experience and how they've split up garbage and organics.
So I'll jump in here. For us, our trucks collect blue box and green bin together, and then on the off week they're collecting garbage and bulky items together, so they never have basically an empty spot to collect that material.
So for Hamilton, I know they collect garbage and organics in the split truck, but I don't know if they can separate just for one type of material. I guess it's just more for collections side to handle it. So right now we're just saying we're not receiving any pet waste in the green bin, so everything will needs to go into the garbage side.
Leah, for London, these are really good questions, because we don't have those answers yet. We do know that Londoners are going to need solutions, and looking to the other municipalities is going to be key for us. And so no answer right now, but here's one great observation though. It doesn't appear anyone has the perfect system right out of the gate, and that there's always going to be an evolution. So I think to think even though London's coming much later in the piece, we'll get many things right. I think we'll have to have some room for some growth and some changes. I think we've got to be realistic there, that we won't be perfect out of the gate, but as close as possible to perfect.
Thanks. Yeah, and I appreciated, Deanna, you mentioning how your program has evolved over time. It's just a nice reminder that we can change things as we learn and go along. Great. So next question asks, where would London be shipping our green bin waste? Could we create a facility to digest this waste locally in London?
Two answers here. We'll be going to the marketplace and we'll be looking for prices from the private sector, companies that either compost or digest materials. So that is where we will get our answers from. In the long run, it is possible that the City of London, with the private sector, could very well build a facility. We have land beside our landfill site, right beside our recycling center. So that opportunity exists in the future too. But for the initial green bin program, we'll be going to the marketplace and we'll be looking for the best possible price for Londoners, and also where we're putting the material to the best possible value.
Awesome, thanks. We're getting through so many good questions. This one may just take a second for me to read, but it's a good one. So it's directed to Jay. I found your facts highly interesting regarding food waste consumption. As the flip side of this is that consumers and families will be paying significantly more for food this year as it had been projected. As you put $600 of food waste equaling to tens of millions per annum, does Green Bin address the fact of improving our infrastructure? Will it be reflected through food security or food supply issues that we may face?
Wow, there's about 5 or 6 questions in that one. Let me just say that the whole discussion on food waste will be a separate conversation. Tonight, we really wanted to get onto the green bin, but as you heard in my presentation and echoed many times over from Anne, in fact, in a presentation not too long ago as part of Green in the City, we want to do a lot of work on food waste avoidance first, because it's that avoidable portion that puts money back into your pocket. It creates opportunities for food security in the community, all tied in with climate change. So that discussion is going to occur very soon as we get ready for the green bin. But keep in mind, you want to avoid your food, and then what will go in the green bin would be the stuff that you just can't avoid, plus that unavoidable portion, which represents about 1/3 of your food waste. So there's plenty for the green bin, and there's plenty to reduce and keep that money in your pocket. So that's a discussion for another day. I haven't done it justice here, but we need 3 hours on that item alone there, Leah. That'll be in the future.
Yeah, quick plug for our Green in the City food waste session that we did back in October. You can find that one on our website, londonenvironment.net/green_city. So you can watch the recording for that, where we talked about lots of ways to reduce your food waste. I'm wondering if I could connect this question to Waterloo or Hamilton to see how they've addressed food waste in conjunction with their green bin programs.
So for Waterloo, we haven't really focused on reduction of food waste. We were looking to do it in 2020, and lots of things changed for us there. And we're just beginning conversations now about that.
Yeah, I guess, sorry, I guess India's not here. So the strategy to deal with food waste, it's with, I guess, a different group. I'm only managing the facility, so I can't really speak to that for Hamilton. But yeah, I mean, if you want a certain answer from Hamilton, I for certainly can connect to the right people and answer to that question.
Awesome, thank you, everyone. This question is for Deanna especially. In accepting pet waste, have you encouraged the use of certain types of cat litter?
No, actually, nope.
Quick answer for that one. Now let's go to, I do like this question. How did you address the consumer confusion regarding paper products? So, i.e. paper towels versus paper cups. Do you want to talk about that, Deanna?
So I mentioned that some of the items we collected in our green bin changed. So for the most part, it was fairly simple to educate our residents. It was paper cups. We still accept paper towels, paper plates, pizza boxes that are heavily soiled. All that still goes into the green bin. And so we launched a campaign called Take the Cup Out. And residents are really engaged in our community, and it didn't take long for them to switch their habits of where it would be disposed of. I believe the City of London uses a waste app, and we have a waste app as well. And residents are continuing to search items and find out the proper disposal methods. And paper cup is up there with styrofoam and yard waste, I think.
Dong, did you have anything to add for that one? I just saw you were unmuted.
Yeah, I think all the paper product, if it's not heavily soiled, like if the pizza box is still dry, I would recommend to put in a blue box, because probably creates more value in that program other than just put into green bin process. I guess similar to all these regions, we have an app, so all the residents can go through the recycle coach in City of Hamilton and find out the right place for different products.
Awesome, thank you. I wanted to ask this question. It's directed to the City of London. If the small bins are chosen to be given out, could people request to put out multiple?
Interesting. We'll definitely have to consider that, because if we go with the smaller size, one would say it's kind of like a blue box when you think about it. We allow multiple blue boxes, so something that we'll definitely have to consider. And you saw on my slide too, the price point. The smaller bins are coming in about between $30 and $35 delivered. So it'll be something that we can definitely consider. And if you put any thought to that?
I would agree with what you said. It makes sense that we would provide an extra bin for the larger households that need two. And it was a question I had during Deanna's presentation, because she mentioned that they stayed with the smaller because they found that the larger became just too heavy for households that had a lot of waste. So the question I had was, what did Waterloo in that case? Do you give out 2 green bins to households that need it?
Yeah, yes, we do actually. So we don't have limits on green bins. And because we want to keep the weight down, pet waste for sure is heavy. So that's the other option. The one also option that we try to accommodate over, let's say, a holiday, when families might be cooking more and they temporarily have an increase in organics, we allow them to put a bag on top of their green bin. So a paper bag usually, because that holds its shape more than the certified compostable plastic bag, but they put it on top of the green bin, and as you know, the drivers, they'll pick it up. If it feels like food waste, then they accept it. Residents often don't want 2 bins when they're only going to use it 3 times a year. So that was the compromise that we allowed our residents to use.
If I can, I just have a quick comment for the city here. I mean, at least for our facility, in previous years, we see a lot of green bin kind of get into the truck and deliver to the facility. So the problem with that is the bin is too big, too heavy. And then when the waste collector, when they tip to the truck, it's so easy to to fall into the truck and they won't be able to get it out. So it end up being a damaged car, and then the resident need to request for a new one. So I guess in terms of the size, I would recommend a medium to a small one because it's probably better for the waste collector to handle. So it won't just get into the truck and just be a loss and damage item.
Awesome. Thanks for all your answers for that one. Scrolling up to one that I skipped over before, directed to City of London. Will the green bin program use City of London employees and equipment, or will it be contracted out similar to the blue bin program?
Because the organics are in the garbage now, and we're looking at split compartment vehicles where garbage and organics would be in the same truck, that's a service that the City of London will be providing from a collection perspective, except in a small area of London, over in sort of the Lambeth area, River Bend area, where we've had a private contractor there for a number of years. They will be providing a very similar system as the rest of London. When it comes to processing, no, that will be 100% handled by the private sector.
Awesome, thanks. And then I'm going to try and fit one more in. This is an interesting question. Do any municipalities sell compost back to residents rather than farmers and landscapers? So I guess just getting into more of the end of life for the compost materials.
I guess Hamilton can speak to that. So if the compost is coming from the central composting facility and we don't sell it to residential use, but we do have compost, compost giveaway twice a year. That's the compost from our leaf and yard compost facility from the landfill. So we just give it out for free to the resident. I guess for the composting facility, it's just a question of logistic because we are situated in an industrial area, and it's we don't have the infrastructure to deal with individual residents come in and take it out in their small trucks or medium trucks. So I guess it's another logistical or environmental issues. So we don't deal with residents. We only deal with farmers and landscapers.
And I would say the same for the region of Waterloo. We do not sell the compost from the green bin, but we do offer our compost from our yard waste and leaf program. It's available all year long, or mostly all year long, at either transfer station. Residents can just come pick up what they need and leave. It shut down over winter when the material tends to freeze, and we'll open it back up at the beginning of April.
Thanks. Jay or Anne, anything to add in like 30 seconds?
Leaf and yard waste, when it turned into compost, the company called Tri Recycling, who does our composting, it all sells out. So we don't believe there'll be any issue moving this. I do like the idea that making some available back to residents so they see how the loop is closed. So that'll be something we can we'll think about that, because I think there's some good ideas there that could be brought to light for the community.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank everybody for the questions. Lots for us to think about, and the other presentations I'll be calling up Hamilton and Waterloo to learn more from them. And just a last plug, go to getinvolved.london.ca and complete that survey there.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne. Yeah, so we are going to wrap it up for the night. Like I said, the questions that we didn't get to will be sent out afterwards, as well as the recording. If you're sticking around for a couple minutes here, I'm just going to plug in a few more ways that you can get involved with different climate action and environmental initiatives. So we have London's Climate Emergency Action Plan, where you can share your feedback on the plan. You can get involved with the Climate Action Plan Simulator, and you can register for future Green in the City events using those links there. And you can continue to take climate action at home by engaging with the Project Neutral Carbon Calculator. And you can explore the My Wild Green Home Virtual Expo, that link there. And lastly, I invite you to visit our website, londonenvironment.net, and you can sign up for our newsletter so you'll find out about future Green in the City events. And lastly, I just want to thank supporters of the London Environmental Network, and a thank you to everyone who came out this evening and attended. And thank you again to our speakers as well. And that wraps up the evening. So thanks for coming out and stay tuned for the recording. Good night, everyone.